You already know what your problem is. It's not your strategy. It's not the market. It's not liquidity, volatility, brokers, news, or algos hunting your stops. Your real problem is much simpler. You still break your own rules. You tell yourself you'll be disciplined starting tomorrow, that you'll stick to the plan this time, that you're done making emotional trades. Then the chart moves. Your heart accelerates. You hesitate. You doubt. You want to feel safe. And in seconds, you abandon everything you said you'd do. You lose money, but worse than that, you lose self-respect. And once that happens, trading stops being a game of probability and becomes a cycle of emotional compensation disguised as effort. The screen turns into a mirror. Every trade exposes what you refuse to fix. If this feels uncomfortable to hear, good. It means you're finally close to the truth. Growth never begins with motivation. It begins with honesty, not the honesty you show the world, the one you owe yourself. You don't break your rules because you are stupid or inexperienced. You break them because your mind is still wired for emotional survival, not for disciplined execution. When you sit in front of the market, you don't operate as a rational trader. You operate as a human being trying to avoid psychological pain. And a person who is still trying to avoid pain will always sacrifice long-term discipline for short-term emotional relief. Every time. This is why you move your stop. This is why you exit too early. This is why you hold losers and cut winners. None of this is caused by lack of knowledge. It is caused by your refusal to accept uncertainty. You still want to believe you can predict, control, anticipate, and force the market to give validation to your analysis. But the market doesn't reward emotional needs. It exposes them. The truth is you don't follow your plan because you're still addicted to hope. Hope that this trade will be different. Hope that the loss will reverse. Hope that you can avoid feeling wrong. And every time you choose hope over discipline, you reinforce the most dangerous belief in trading, that disobedience can sometimes work. Once your mind accepts that, you're done because now breaking your rules feels justified. You believe your biggest enemy is fear. It isn't. Your biggest enemy is hesitation, that brief moment between knowing what you should do and actually doing it. That gap is the birthplace of emotional sabotage. In hesitation, your brain starts negotiating with reality. Maybe I should wait. Maybe it will bounce. Maybe the market will give me a second chance. But the market doesn't negotiate. It punishes uncertainty. This is why you keep repeating the same mistakes even when you know exactly what you're doing wrong. Knowledge doesn't change behavior. Identity does. As long as your beliefs are still wired to protect your ego from discomfort, you will always find a way to justify breaking your rules. You won't call it self-sabotage. You'll call it giving the trade more room or waiting for confirmation. Lies disguised as logic. And here's the harsh truth. You don't lack discipline. You lack self-honesty. You've built a system, written your rules, designed your plan. But when the moment of execution comes, you act as if those rules don't apply to you. Why? Because deep down you still think you can win without full discipline. You want the reward without the sacrifice, the growth without the confrontation, the freedom without the responsibility. That mindset is why traders disappear from this game. Discipline is not difficult because of rules. Rules are easy to write, easy to understand, easy to repeat. What makes discipline difficult is that every rule you create exposes a conflict inside you. When you write, "I will always respect my stop," you are not just creating a trading guideline. You are declaring war against the part of your identity that refuses to accept loss. The real enemy is not indiscipline. It is internal resistance. This is why you can know exactly what to do and still not do it. Your actions are not aligned with your knowledge because they are still aligned with your beliefs, especially the ones you refuse to question. You don't move your stop because you think it is smart. You move your stop because deep down, you still believe that a loss means you failed. That belief has nothing to do with markets. It is about who you think you are. And as long as trading feels like a test of your worth, you will always protect your ego before your capital. You will rationalize hesitation as patience, denial as confidence, revenge trading as recovery, and emotional attachment as conviction. These are not trading decisions. These are survival behaviors disguised as logic. You don't lose because your strategy is wrong. You lose because you still need to defend your identity. The market doesn't create emotional traders. The market only reveals them. It shows you what you truly believe, not what you pretend to believe. If you tell yourself you accept risk but feel anxious every time price moves against you, then you don't accept risk. You only accept winning. If you tell yourself you are disciplined but constantly violate your own rules, you are not disciplined. You are still negotiating with your weaknesses. There is no progress in trading until you stop lying to yourself. You cannot build discipline on top of contradiction. You either act according to your rules or you act according to your fears. There is no middle ground. This is why you feel stuck. You are trying to trade at a professional level while thinking like an amateur. You want freedom without responsibility, growth without pain, and certainty in a game built on uncertainty. And here is the turning point. Discipline is not behavior. It is identity. You don't try to be disciplined. You become someone who no longer violates their own rules. Until your beliefs are restructured, your actions will always betray your intentions. You cannot hold professional results with an undisciplined mind. And you will never enter the zone until you first become the kind of trader who deserves to be trusted. Discipline isn't built by forcing yourself to follow rules. If it feels like a daily fight, that's not discipline. That's resistance. And resistance always breaks under pressure. The harder you try to push yourself into discipline, the more your mind pushes back. Because deep down, a part of you still believes it needs to protect your ego from discomfort. That's why you keep hesitating. That's why you move your stop. That's why you break your own plan, even when you know exactly what you should do. These aren't emotional mistakes. They're belief conflicts. Your actions still serve your need for emotional safety, not logical execution. And until that changes, nothing else will. You lose discipline the moment you reject reality, when you expect certainty in a game built on probability, when you take losses personally instead of mathematically, when you act as if the market owes you a win because you deserve it. The truth is simple. The market doesn't care. Not about you, not about your effort, not about how badly you want it. And once you stop fighting that truth, trading becomes quiet. Real discipline doesn't begin with more rules. It begins with truth. The truth that your beliefs shape every decision. The truth that execution is your responsibility alone. And the truth that you will never trade with power until you stop negotiating with your own weakness. Discipline is not built in one video, one book, or one breakthrough moment. It is built through conscious exposure to truth, repeatedly until your old beliefs no longer survive. You cannot escape yourself in the market. You take your fears with you. You take your impulses with you. You take your identity with you. That is why discipline is never a strategy problem. It is a mind problem. Most traders look for the next setup, the next indicator, the next hack. They chase techniques because techniques are comfortable. They distract from the real work, the inner work, the work of rewiring how you think, how you act, and how you respond under pressure. That work doesn't begin with motivation. It begins with confrontation, the willingness to face your own mental weaknesses without excuses. Trading forces one truth on anyone who dares to approach it. Your results will always reflect your ability to confront yourself. Don't run from it. Lean in. Awareness is useless without action, and action begins with honesty. Drop a comment below and tell the truth. What destroys your discipline the most? Fear, hesitation, or ego?